Well, hello and welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit Network's High Vibe Tribe Expert Interview. My name is Liz Garcia. I'm your happy host and interviewer, and we bring you transformational leaders, luminary healers, visionaries, and best-selling authors from all over the world on really distinctive and unusual topics in the field of mind, body, and spirit. Today is no exception. So I'm going to pique your interest with a few questions in regards to today's special guest and the topic we'll be discussing. So do you feel as though you're going in circles, treating the same old symptoms like fatigue, stress, depression, and other chronic conditions to no avail? Have you sensed that going to a doctor may not be your only hope for a healthy life, yet you're not sure where else to turn? With steadily increasing medical costs, misdiagnoses, addiction to prescriptions, and then more prescriptions to offset the side effects of the prescriptions, maybe it's time to turn the corner into a clear understanding of your health and open the door to new possibilities for healing. It's common knowledge that we're all constantly shedding old cells and creating new ones. Did you know, though, that with the proper sound healing techniques and intention, you can bring about such profound healing that you've essentially created a new liver or a new kidney, as an example? Today's special guest, Mona Delfino, has a current event going on right now at the Shift Network called Discover Sound as Medicine, and is going to share her wisdom on the topic of sound healing and sound as medicine with us today. And we're not going to go into the details of the event till the end of this because it is dated and it's going on right now, which is December of 2019 into 2020. Mona, likely into January or February when people can still access the recording of the free event as well as get in on your class. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Mona, welcome. We're so happy to have an esteemed energy healer like yourself. And
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Now, I saw from your phone you're in Oregon. Is that correct? Or is that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I am in Oregon. I live in Eugene and go back and forth to Portland, Lincoln City, Bend. I'm all over the map.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a little bit about today's special guest. So Mona Delfino is an author of The Sacred Language of the Human Body and The Body Awakens. Now, Mona, tell us a little bit about both of these books. Let's start with The Sacred Language of the Human Body. What's that about?
The Sacred Language of the Human Body, honey, came out about 5 years ago. It was instigated by my business partner at the time, John J. Harper, who really told me, Mona, you've got 12 books in you. Why aren't you writing? I said, I don't usually do that. I don't have time for that, And he says, well, you need to get the books out. So 5 years ago, he passed away, actually 9 years ago. So he passed away, but I decided to write the book anyway, and through his encouragement. And I'm really happy I did, because the information that's in that book in particular is the sacred language of the human body says to you that there are cause and effect. There's always reasons why we come up with certain things that happen in our body. We are luminous beings, okay? And what happens is we kind of choose subconsciously, not on purpose necessarily, but we have to choose the way that we live. And a lot of times we are based in, it's like if you grow up in a religion, or you grow up with abuse, or you grow up with something, that particular energy holds on to you subconsciously. It's what Bruce Lipton calls when we're working in the field. What happens is the field is generated from our heart. If you have had situations in the past that have not been good for you, then unfortunately, this also goes into past lives. Then what happens is we come back as carryovers to try to heal that. We want to get better. And so in that book, it gives you more demonstration about what is going on in the body. Why do we have autoimmune dysfunctions? Why? Why should we? Why are some people more prone to that than others? It's that kind. We're not victims. We've never, ever been victims in this humanity. We're just learning. We're understanding now why things happen. And so you have the right to know. So it's my honor to be able to share that. I've been doing this since I was a child, 61 years old today, and I'm rocking and rolling in the world, finally coming out and saying, look, here's why things happen. I'm a medical intuitive healer. I work all over the globe. I've got people calling me every day. I always have. And it's been 40 years now that I've been doing this work. So it's amazing, but now's the time to really share that and to teach people how they too can not only understand us not feel well, but also why do we drag ourselves into the same patterns over and over again? There's reasons and understandings for everything. And I'm teaching that today.
Nice. Thank you, Mona. I'm pretty well embraced the awareness that we all have these patterns that we come into, and trying to recognize them as opposed to be blinded by them. It's like, all right, how am I going to, I always do a little prayer, like, I'm willing to see the pattern, just show it to me. Yeah. But Mona, it's fascinating. Well, so let's get a little bit more into your bio here. That you've been an energy medicine practitioner for 40 years and a medical intuitive, which I think is fascinating. The whole notion of medical intuitiveness. I think Carolyn Mace kind of introduced us to it.
Actually, Louise Hay did.
Oh, did she?
Louise Hay was the one who started. She was our first real well-known medical intuitive by writing the book, How to Heal Your Body.
Oh.
She came in with affirmations, which affirmations were really, really good at the time because at least it got people thinking about how you can turn it around.
Right.
Carolyn Mace came in later with a lot of different types of information. And
right.
Sometimes it's a little too much for people to understand that stuff. And you really have to break that down. And that's why in my world, I've been doing this for so long that I feel now that I'm out in the public as much as I am, I feel that it's important to help the people understand and to kind of relate, not teach just from teaching, but relate to people. It's right. What we do. We are all the same. We're just learning differently. Yeah. So it's my opportunity now to say, this is how I'd like to teach it. Yeah.
Nice. So you were born with shamanic abilities. What would you consider shamanic abilities for the listeners and viewers that don't really know what that is? What's a shamanic ability that you were
Well, you remember when Jesus said, I'm in the world, I'm not of it?
Yes.
That's me. That's the kind of thing that shaman do. Shaman don't pay attention necessarily to the things that are going on in the world, even though they are going on in the world. And many things are very important because we're in transition. We're constantly in transition. There's nothing that stays the same ever, whether it's in our body, whether it's in our thoughts, whether it's in our DNA, or whether it's on the television. Nothing ever stays the same, right? So what we have to learn is that we're coming into a time of change and transition. Transition is very, very important right now. But what people aren't really aware of is that they have that opportunity to know what that transition is about. All it is really being able to take your power back and recognize that the more you don't attach to certain things out there, you need to learn that it's not about attachment. It's about recognition. Everything with spirit is recognition. And so anytime you recognize anything, it's what we call the Big Bang effect. It's where two or more are gathered. On some level, it's another Big Bang effect. And so what it is it's recognition unto itself. When somebody speaks to you, and they say something that's mean, you have a choice. You can hold on to that. You can feel bad about it. You can say, I'm a piece of crap. You can do whatever you want with that, but you don't have to buy that. You can also learn from it. The most important thing about shamanism is understanding how we associate a connection. And when we learn, we connect. So that's my way of helping people learn is it's like, well, there's always a reason for everything, but there's always a solution for everything.
Right. Cool. So you're helping people recognize, right? Instead of react.
Right.
It's a recognition as opposed to the common reaction.
Yes.
And then making the connection of how do you move from here? Like, how do you move away from this or dissolve it?
Yes, yes, yes. You have to remember that we are in a time period of extreme change. Our astrologers tell us that we have right now, Mars and Scorpio. It's going to be going on for a while. Mars and Scorpio is a very important aspect in astrology because what this is telling us, that's just one of many, okay? But the reason that's important is because Mars is a planet that's a warrior. It's the one that stands up for itself. It doesn't take any crap. It's the one that says, we are here and this is what we're doing. It's a warrior planet. But when it's in Scorpio, Scorpio is a very clairvoyant kind of sign. When Scorpio is in balance, it's an amazing sign. It's very, very powerful, and it's independent. It's strong. It knows its way, and it works on its direction. And that's what's happening in our world right now. We are all becoming independent people. Whether you're married for 35 years or whether you have chosen the idea of marriage or partnership or whatever it is that you're doing, you are still an independent soul. And that independent soul that you are is the one that needs to reach into herself or himself and decide how you want to expose yourself, the reality of who you are. And that's because it's important to know that you are the light in the world. You are the one that's making these choices. And so people sometimes don't feel like they have enough energy, or they don't feel like they have enough importance. They're still living based on an old concept that maybe they're not good enough. I have probably 85% of my clientele are people who have felt in the past that they were never heard. And if you're not heard, it creates sadness. And then if it gets even stronger, then it becomes anger. And then the body reacts to anger. And sometimes we stuff it because we don't want to know what we're really feeling. And it can happen through feeling disqualified or being yelled at, or, and we all are people. We've all had things happen. And so when you start looking at the whole thing, you say, what did I hang on to? Why was that so important to me? And so when you start really realizing that you might be mad about a marriage that didn't work out, or you might be upset that you didn't feel loved. That's a big one. When people don't feel loved, a lot of times women in particular, they get fibroids. The physical body actually responds to an emotion. So all of our emotions are now becoming our physical body. And we must realize that what we hang on to is going to hang on in our body. What we release inside of us and do forgiveness or ho'oponopono, when you start letting go of these things, the physical body also lets go because it listens to you. You are important. Your body is important because it's not trying to run the show. It's trying to teach. You are one with your body. And for people who say that you're not, and people that say, no, we're just spirit, no, we are in a human form. And we must love that human form in order to become more of who we are in this world.
Thank you, Mona. I fully appreciate the part the body plays in our life, and the thoughts that we think about it and tell it and all this. I do a podcast on consciousness, and I always remind people, the mind is of higher consciousness than the body. So whatever you tell in the body, it agrees. It's like, you're the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
I'm just doing what you're telling me.
And
reacting.
Liz, the behavior patterns are what people are learning about. It's how we're responsible for three things in this life, really: action, reaction, and non-action. And how we react, how we act, and how we don't act. It matters because this is what you are creating. You're a co-creator. So your body is listening to what you're doing. And so not only are you saying it out loud, which is what we talk about with sound, what do we discuss? How do we talk? It's very important because it's what you are assuming, or it's what you are clearing up. It could be anything, but you need to be true to yourself, because that's really the key to becoming happier in this lifetime.
So, Mona, you started off in energy medicine. Was there a particular modality that you used to help people? And then how did it get into sound healing, or have you always used sound as healing?
Oh, I was very blessed. My whole life has been about recognition of, oh, what can I learn now? I actually was a medical intuitive even when I was doing massage work. And I started out as a nurse, and we moved from Alaska. I was raising my family. We moved from Alaska back in 83, 84,
Wow.
and moved back to Oregon. And at that point, I realized I had to leave Alaska because I needed nursing. I needed to understand that I could do something in the medical field because that's what I thought was available. So I nursed for 8 years, and I learned a lot from that. Oh my goodness, I was always in neurology and learning about nerves and neurons and synapse, and my God, you would see all kinds of people going through things, but I had a different take on it. I just knew differently, I guess, compared to what doctors and nurses actually do. Well, I reached a point after about 6 or 7 years that I realized that people weren't really, in my world, really being taken care of. I keep seeing this thing with medical, pills and x-rays and no. Well, really, there was no hope in looking at a healing or a cure. It was all about that or that or that. And so I chose to go into massage therapy at that time because I wanted more communication with people. I felt like I could help them better. So for 30 years after that, I became a massage therapist. And the reason why is I was always touching the body, but the body taught me. I mean, there were days I could go into, if we had an hour, it was longer. I would tell you some of the stories, but I literally learned back in that time that cells were talking to me. I could listen to the body, and I heard the body, and each person was different. And sometimes spirit would have all these people coming in on the same day with the exact same problem. Oh. And so I think a lot of medical professionals realize that, that does happen. It's like a theme of the day, you get people in there. It's like they all have a heart condition, or they all have a fall, or they all have a brain thing, it could be anything. So when you start looking at things, you start recognizing and examining. So I was the observer for 30 years, learning from people. And I could hear the bodies telling me. Finally got to the point where I could see things inside the body as well. And so I was able to, one guy came in one time, and he had a surgery, and he came in for help. And so I was doing the massage, and my name got out in the community. So I had a lot of people. I had like 9 people a day, 6 days a week. I was constantly working for 15 years like that.
How were those hands?
So I turned around.
Must be pretty strong.
It was crazy. Yes. Anyway, so I turned around and I put my hands on this guy and on his stomach, and I realized that his body was telling me what he was experiencing, but he was giving his life over to the medical field. And what happened was, when he had a condition of a chronic kind of a colon problem. There was a blockage. Okay. So they went in and did surgery on him. He came to me 2 weeks later for a session. And when I read the energy in that, I could feel in my body, this is just an example, but I could feel in my body that there was a very sharp feeling in my left side of my colon, and it hurt. And I went, ow, wow, what is that? And it was I could feel it. So when I took the chance, I put my hand on his body. I said, you know what? I think they left a pair of scissors in your gut. No. I think they left a pair of scissors in your gut. They might be small, but this is too painful. This is not a normal pain. I said, go back and have them do an x-ray and find out. He went back and found out there was a little pair of scissors left in his gut.
Ooh.
This is what I'm talking about. It became so powerful that there wasn't anything left undone. We could look at everything. I got to the point where I was actually learning with Jeffrey Thompson for a while. Jeffrey Thompson is a chiropractor in Encinitas, California. And Jeffrey is a sound therapist, and he teaches people about their tone, about their vital tone. And I studied with him for quite some time, actually. And he was an amazing, amazing teacher. And so Jeffrey is still there. He's still working in Encinitas. But the truth is that once you start aligning to a vital tone, which is what we learned when we did muscle testing for people, you start aligning to those tones, and then you begin to recognize that you get stronger. And once you muscle test to one tone, you can't go weak at all. It's that one tone that makes the difference. So we learned that as we were doing this sound therapy for people. And the important part was that there had to be a form of vibration. anytime that you have a sound recognition on some kind of a healing, there has to be a vibrational feeling to it. So it's like if people hear you'll be in the car and you'll be driving down the street and you hear another car going boom chicka boom chicka boom chicka, and it's really loud. It could irritate the what out of you. You could sit back and go, oh, I can't stand that. I'm only at a stoplight. I can't take that, because that's so against your vibration. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. But when you find a nice sound that does, or a song that you love, and you sing the song, you are vibrating to the same song that you are in love with, and that changes everything. So it's really, really what we are learning now more is about how sound therapy actually is a very good, conduit for healing.
So I love that you can muscle test on the vibration or sound that works for everyone has an individual frequency, presumably. Mm-hmm. And then you would test when you're working with people, which one resonates most strongly with them, or is it a general thing, or is there a different sound or therapy for different parts of the body?
Oh, it's all based in, there's a vital tone, and the vital tone is the one that works for you best at that time. People will change. You don't always keep that vital tone forever, but once you start growing into a different human being, when you start changing and your perceptions shift, when you start lightening up a little bit and you don't take everything so seriously, your vital tone does change. It can reflect back, and I've seen where people do that. Once you start getting to the point where you don't need the old vital tone anymore, it doesn't resonate. You don't feel good about it, and you want to move on. And you go, "Gosh, I haven't heard that tone in a long time. I don't like it anymore." Well, that's because you outgrew it, and now you're ready for a new one. So these are the things we teach. We teach how to understand your own tone, how it works for you in the body, and how you feel stronger. When you feel stronger, your whole body feels stronger. Your whole body takes on a whole new light of identification. So it's your physical saying thank you, really is what it comes down to.
Now, Mona, how do you emit this? Like, what sounds are you using for healing? Are there particular...
Well,
singing bowls or gongs, or what is it?
Thank you, honey. No, it's the power of you. It's the power of your own voice. This is what I'm teaching. The power of your own voice is more magnificent than anything. Now, everything is good. I'm not saying it's not. You have, your sound bowls. You've got tuning forks. You've got sound tables, you've got everything like that out there to help to resonate to something for you. But the best way to do it is to take the power back in your own hands and use your voice for it.
So how do you do that? Talk to yourself,
like I said,
record something?
Yeah, like I said, it's a teaching and the muscle testing of how you feel that your tone works for you. You will resonate to it because you go, oh, that feels so, I love that tone. That feels really good. So you start realizing that you're paying attention now, whereas before maybe you didn't. And that's what all this teaching is about. It's about recognition. You're learning differently. We're not in the same world we were even a year ago.
Right.
And so we're in a time period of change and getting out of an illusion and looking at what placebo, even what Bruce Lipton talks about, your environment, what you can do about it. You don't have to be a victim to anything. And so sound has a tendency to help you to recognize your own individual power.
Nice. So there's a couple of questions that came up when I was reading your event description, and you speak about the voice of your soul. That's the sound you're talking about?
That's the vital tone.
That's the vital tone, is the voice of your soul. And then you mentioned proper healing techniques and, importantly, intention. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Intention is the most important part of anything. Any acupuncturist will tell you that. Anybody that does modalities in alternative medicine will tell you that. Because the most important thing is to recognize that intention is the reason why. Intention can actually meld with perspective or perception. Perception and intention work together. So it's not like you're doing one over another. They really work together. And intention, you might want to force something, and that's not how it works. You've got to have a proper perception to understand. It's almost the aha. It's like feeling that you are in an alpha state where it's just this big, open, thank you feeling. And once you get there, once you have this appreciation in your heart, this is also heart math. When you have appreciation and compassion in the heart, you override all of these old emotions that have kept you in this dungeon, right? Yeah. So we want to move forward, and we're going to learn from this way that now you feel different. Now you can see differently. You have a different perception. And now with that perception, your intention can come in.
Nice. Well, I have a little thing to share with the audience on that, Mona. And it's a simple kind of affirmation, is that I intend to perceive from a higher level of consciousness.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
Kind of work with those energies and help you shift and let go of the old perceptions. So
that is an empowerment statement. That right there is an empowerment statement. And in these classes that we're going to do with the shift, they really are all about empowerment statements. And I find that any type of work that I do, a healing job with anybody, I always end with an empowerment statement. It's one of the most important things because it helps clear the air. You know, it clears the past.
You can feel the energy shift when you make some statement that's like, whoa, where'd that come from? Feels good. So, Mona, do you teach other classes outside of the shift, or is this all new? This kind of?
Oh no, I have a whole. Yes, I'm a teacher. I love speaking. I love being in front of audiences. I enjoy my teaching in this world. Many years ago, I wanted to go. I was going crazy. I had so much information. I wanted to do something, and I said, "How do I do this? Where do I go?" And many years ago, 25 years ago, I had learned all of this stuff from the body, and I said, "I know how to help people heal. I know what's going on." That's the medical intuitive in me. So then I understood that. I didn't know where to go. I actually went to National Institute of Health and went to a doctor who worked with the National Institute of Health. And he looked at me and he goes, "What do you want, a grant?" I said, "No, I want to teach."
Oh, good.
So I do teach. I have a website at sacredreconnections.com. And at sacredreconnections.com, you can go on there, and there's places where you can go and have individual teachings. I decided that it's important to have 3-hour-long teaching sessions for each individual. That seems to be the amount that works well. So I would say maybe 3. So I would say, okay, so we start on a Friday, and then we go next Friday and the following Friday.
So this is one-on-one with you, Mona?
Always one-on-one.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That helps people because because everybody's in this state of flux and not knowing what's happening to them, and they're hungry. They want to know more about shamanism, or they want to know about what they could do for themselves to become more balanced, more aligned. And they don't like the stress. Nobody really likes stress, and we're learning that is so hard on the body. I think it's the hardest thing in the world. But when you back into your own soul recognition again, it's like none of that matters. And it changes like that. Once you become aware of it, awareness is everything. Conscious awareness is everything. And once you become aware of it, it's quantum healing. It just changes. It's an aha moment, So that's what I love to talk about. Yeah.
Nice. So say the website again, Mona. I'm going to spell it out on the video, but.
Okay. It's Sacred Reconnections.
Reconnections.
Reconnections with an S on the back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. .com.
People can, listeners and viewers, you can connect with Mona there for one-on-one work with her. Do you do medical intuitive readings as well, Mona?
All the time.
All the time. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
turn it off. You're busy with that.
It's a natural thing for me to read, and I am very happy to do this for Spirit because I was born to do it, and so now I'm really shooting for the stars here.
Okay, good. So let's talk. Is there any little takeaway people can have right now? A little tidbit of wisdom that you can share.
Okay, number one, you are never a victim. It doesn't work like that. It never did work like that. The only reason why people think of victimization is because we were taught by medical professions, we were taught by governments, teachers, governments, corporations, anything like that. We have always been associated to feeling like the underdog because we never felt powerful enough. And so, including finances and relationships, those are personal.
Yeah.
And so when you don't feel good enough, then you kind of assume that you're not good enough. And please know that is not the case. Never has been. What it is it's a blockage somewhere in your mind from a long time ago that made you think that you were never going to be up to par. And then we believed it. So it's the biology of belief. It really comes back down to that. So we realize that we don't need to believe in anything that way. We are really co-creators in a world that's waiting for us. And you never, ever have to feel bad about yourself or anything that you had in the past. As a matter of fact, I'll share one more thing. We are at a point in time right now where it's almost like there's like a knife coming through and it's saying, you're done with your past. You are completely finished with your past. Do not go back to the way that you've looked at things because nothing is the same and nothing will ever be the same again.
I love that.
We're coming into a new time. Literally, this is the gift from God. We are actually in this time period right now. And so to be able to recognize that is just, it is such an awe feeling. I feel very, very honored to be able to read that information and share it with you.
Nice. Mona, I just want to kind of reiterate the victimhood thing because it's part of my podcast and teaching is about letting go of victimhood and understanding you are not that. And if you think you are, you're operating from a low level of consciousness and it's just a perception. It's not the truth.
Right.
And
it's an old belief pattern or an old pattern. Yeah.
If we could share the message, let go of victimhood. It's not true. You're going to step into a lot of power.
Yes. That's the bottom line. Yes, Liz.
All right. So, let's talk about your Shift Network event, which is called Discover. Where is it?
Sound is medicine.
Sound is medicine. Sorry. I knew I had it. It's like, I know that. I've seen it 7 times today as
There's so much information coming in. It's hard to remember.
So Mona has a Shift Network event going on right now. And her live kind of event where she shares a lot of information has happened, so you can still access the recording, and I'll provide links to that. But Mona, why don't we talk about what that free event was all about? Like, what are you sharing there to get people interested in kind of coming to access it and listening?
Well, in the free event, it's literally telling you that here's a new way of looking at things. Here's how we can talk about sound. You know, the free event actually is more educational, right? And it gives you this information that maybe you didn't know before, and it helps you to recognize the simplicity of change. It's not necessarily a big deal. It's just something that we have to recognize. Again, recognition is the key. Shamanism knows that. Recognition is the key to shift. It's connection. So we're learning how to connect differently through our own body. You can use it as a tool. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to feel okay today. You know, don't do that. You have to go out there and think. It's not about what's out there. It's about what you're going through in here and how you want to shift in here. That's what I teach. So the free event has a lot of that information in there.
Oh, good. And then that always leads into like a 7 or 8 week course. Is yours?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes. And there's a lot of information coming out. I am teaching you everything I know about anything that needs to be known today. Nice. And so the team with the Shift is an incredible family. I've been working with them now for quite some time. And we did this together. We literally put it together because of how it would affiliate to organize what people really needed. And it's amazing how they work with you. So I'm totally on board with, the entire team. I feel this is fantastic.
Now, is it a 7-week course, Mona? Is that what they typically are?
Yes. Yes, okay. We start January 9th is the day that the first class begins.
2020.
And January 9th is the date Yeah, it's a really good, and you know what? It's a really good time because this is like the new year, and with all that's going on in the world right now, you take your power back and you can do it through understanding. And this course teaches you that. And it's not expensive. The other thing I love about it is that it makes sense that, I mean, my individual classes are more money than what I'm teaching in 7 weeks.
Yes.
So this is a really good deal. And so not only are you getting that, but you're getting all these free offers that come with it, and things I've done for the shift in the past on shamanism. They're going to include that with other speakers as well. And so you're going to get some kinds of amazing free offers, and you're going to be inundated with information. The nice part is that everything is recorded. So even if you can't make it on a Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time, because that's when we start. Yeah. Even if you can't make it, it's always recorded and you will always have it. And that means you can always go back and listen to it again.
Right. So listeners and viewers, there'll be a link below. If you're listening, you can go to the mindbodyspiritnetwork.com/interview-Mona-Delfino, and all of our connections to Mona will be there. In addition to accessing the free live event recording, you'll be able to access that there. And then you can stream into the course if you find that first freebie of interest and you want to go further into 2020 with sound healing and stepping into your own power, most importantly. And shedding
letting go of the crap. Right. But also more education. When people learn, it's like you have a choice, and this is going to provide education for you, for the body, to help people understand why we get sick. I want to share that so badly. I can't stand people about autoimmune dysfunctions. I want to say, why does it happen? Every condition, I do not say diagnosis, people, I say condition. With every condition that's happening in your body, it was created somehow. And it means somewhere along the way, there was a fabric design that took over. It wasn't your conscious design. It was a fabric design that happened from your past. And that's what I call the electromagnetic field. From your heart generated information when you felt brokenhearted, when you felt like you were never enough. These can end up in conditions such as Parkinson's or MS. These are very big deals because the more education you have about what can cause a certain condition, the more you'll recognize that that's just a fleeting thought. It doesn't have to sit in the body and it doesn't have to take you over, and it can be healed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to kind of support what Mona is saying here with my own experience, that when I feel something in the body, and I haven't taken Mona's course, but she's kind of leading me down to where I'm aware we don't have to all should go there, but it's an excellent idea to get into the awareness that thoughts and beliefs and old patterns create a lot of problems in the body, or can. And I've practiced my own releasing of when stuff shows up in the body, I address it. I'm like, and I use Louise Hay's affirmation. I'm willing to release the patterns in my consciousness that created this. And lo and behold, it goes away pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's a lot of, I have a lot of experience of inner work, which, that may help. And I'm sure Mona's class is going to help get you into the groove of understanding and awareness of recognition of patterns and how to let them go and stop, don't dive into the victim fearness of it all. Like if you've got chronic illness that runs in your family, let it go and be willing to release the need to be a part of that pattern or whatever. Right. So, all right, Mona.
Well, yes, honey.
Say something else?
Well, I wanted to say, anytime you go to a doctor's office, what's the first thing they do? They give you a form to fill out. And what's on that form? The form is, what did my mother and father die of? Or has there been heart disease in my family? Did I have diabetes in my family? Yada, yada, yada. They always talk about your family history. I have to mention Bruce Lipton again here because him and I are very, very close in this factor. We understand it. He says it from the science viewpoint. I say it from a shaman viewpoint. But basically what it is you're, again, not a victim to your family, not a victim to your genes, not a victim to your past, not a victim to anything that has been maybe conditioned in your whole family. Like, in other words, if your dad had Parkinson's, or your aunt had Parkinson's, or your father had cancer, or your mother had cancer, you don't have to, because you're not that person. The only thing that brings in something like that is how you act. It's an environmental thing. It's like, what are you picking up on from that problem that your dad had, or what are you picking up on from your mother? You know, these are things that happen, and we have to learn that we are not our parents. I mean, I think the most important thing is to realize that we came in here for a higher purpose. We didn't come here to become the victims of what everybody else does or has. We came in here to be the trailblazers. We wouldn't be here today if we weren't. Trailblazers are people who are recognizing that they are individual and that can stand on their own with a new understanding of how to become. We are actually evolving, and that's what our world is doing. We're evolving. That's why there has to be chaos to bring up the crap. It's like if your body breaks down, it breaks down to release. It doesn't break down to hurt you. It breaks down to let go.
Yes.
Okay? And so we have to change that whole concept of, why is this happening? Why do I feel this way? Well, because your body's an indicator. It's your beautiful indicator. It's just telling you, slow down, get more relaxation. Don't think the way you always did, because that's not going to help. If you get fearful, that can cause a lot of issues, you know, or not feeling good enough, that can cause a lot of issues. So either way you look at it, we have power, and that power is called recognition of unto yourself.
So, you know, you talk about Bruce Lipton, and I've had an interview with an epigeneticist, which Bruce is, right? So epigenetics, listeners and viewers, is saying the same thing from a scientific point of view. You're not victim to your DNA at all. Except
the
for,
other part,
you know, there could be some things that you have a greater propensity to have to deal with.
Right. But all of these are lessons, honey. I don't think anybody gets out of this world without learning lessons.
Right.
And that's why we're here. And the other thing is, once you learn those lessons and you have overcome and overstepped the past, most people today would say, well, I don't want to go back to being a kid again. Man, that would be a tough day. That was hard for me. Well, look at you today. You've changed. You're not that person anymore. So, you know, so that's what the body does. The body is actually very similar. It doesn't stay the same. It will always recognize you're shifting and you're changing. I'm a stem cell energy therapist. I'm a runner for stem cells. I have gone to Mexico with people with Parkinson's disease in particular, and we've done stem cells for them. But Mexico's very open to do that. And, you know, they may put in 78,000 stem cells. They may put in more than that. But however they do it, it's because they know that it will counteract what's going on in the physical body. But that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. That's not necessarily going to heal you. That's going to help you, because the stem cells go directly from the heart out into the body. They're looking for a host. They want to know what to do. Tell me what to do. I can run the show if you just tell me what to do.
Make sure
and
you're
so
telling
stem
it
cells,
positive things, right?
yes, it can react to your thoughts. It can react to your, you know, behavior patterns. They react to everything. But when you become aware and you become more conscious of these things, then you are already creating what your body can do.
Nice. All right, listeners and viewers, if you want to connect with Mona, again, she has 2 books, The Sacred Language of the Human Body and The Body Awakens, and they're both available on her website, I'm sure, and on Amazon. And her website, again, is sacredreconnections.com. And her current Shift Network event that leads into an online course is The Power of Sound as Medicine with Mona Delfino. If you like what's going on here, subscribe to our podcast at highvibetriberadio.com or on our YouTube channel at highvibetribetv.com. And again, I'm your host, Liz Garcia of the mindbodyspiritnetwork.com, where we connect you with all kinds of experts like Mona and Shift Network event faculty members come join us over there as well. Mona, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck in your event and launching it in 2020, a new decade. That's got to have some energetic meaning. I don't know. You know better than I.
That's the way it always works with me, Liz. It's always about timing.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you.